call to order this meeting of Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners workshop meeting, February 26, 2026. We note that all commissioners are here with the exception of Commissioners Engel and Cross, both of whom are excused. We did have an executive session where we discussed matters of personnel and real estate. And we'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. So if I could ask Bill Goff to lead us tonight in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Start the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Great job, Bill. Nailed it. Start with the petitions, complaints, suggestions from citizens. Does anybody wish to address the board tonight? Going once, going twice. All right, hearing none. Move on to approval of minutes from our February 12th meeting.
Mr. President, I'd like to
Yes.
move for approval of the February 12th regular meeting minutes. Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments or questions?
Yeah, there's a mistake. I think our new human resources person is mentioned as a commissioner.
Yeah, I think that's been addressed, right, Leanne? Any other comments or questions? All in favor on the minutes?
Aye.
And opposed. Motion carries. Recognitions and presentations. We lost a member of our workforce. It's a happy loss for him, I think, but it's sad for the rest of us. Bill Goff, who's been with us for 20-some years, 22. Peace out, babe. So tonight we have a proclamation for him, and Travis, if you can come up and present it to Bill. And Bill, if you'd like to have any of your family come up and join you, free to do so.
Okay, so William H. Goff Sr., as you retire after 22 years of dedicated service to Susquehanna Township, we extend our deepest appreciation for the commitment, skill, and integrity you have brought to every role throughout your career. Your journey with the township reflects not only hard work, but a remarkable ability to grow, adopt, and serve whenever you were needed most. You began your career with us as a truck driver. Within just 6 months, your strong work ethic and reliability earned you the opportunity to become an equipment operator, a role you have excelled in for the next 10 years. Your willingness to take new challenges and your steady, dependable presence made you an invaluable part of Public Works team. For the past 11 years and 6 months, you have served as a mechanic, supporting the township in one of its most essential capacities. Your expertise kept our Public Works vehicles and equipment running safely and efficiently, ensure the readiness of Susquehanna Township police vehicles, and provide critical support to Dauphin County CERT. The quality of your work directly contributed to the safety, preparedness, and the daily operations of the community we serve. Throughout your career, you have been known for your professionalism, your pride in your craft, and your willingness to help whenever needed. You have earned the respect of your colleagues and the gratitude of the township through your dedication and the countless hours you invested behind the scenes to keep our operations moving. As you step into retirement, we hope you do so with immense pride in all you have accomplished. Your contributions will continue to benefit Susquehanna Township long after your final day, and your presence will be truly missed. Thank you, William H. Goff Sr., for 22 years of outstanding service. We wish great health, happiness, and fulfillment in your next chapter in your life. Sincerely, Susquehanna Township. Thank you very much.
you like to say anything?
Yes, I'd like to thank the township for the opportunity to work here for 22 years. I see some new faces and some old faces I've seen for a long time. And I'd just like to thank the opportunity that you've given me to work here for 22 years, and I appreciate it. I've grown, I've learned a lot, and the township has done a lot for myself and my family and my children throughout the years, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity for the township to put their trust in me. And I know I'm turning my services over to a good gentleman, Corey Balisic. He took over, and I know he'll do a good job for the township. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Come on up and let's do a picture up here. Okay, moving on to public hearings. Teresa, you going to take this, or is Mike going to take the public hearing for the trash and refuse?
I got it, and then I'll call
Yep.
Teresa. Mr. President, this is the time and place that's been properly advertised for a public hearing on ordinance 2026-02, refuse and recycling. It's in your packets. It's also been properly advertised, and I make the advertisement part of the record of this hearing. The 2602 aligns the township policy with current operational standards, a new comprehensive repeal and replacement of our old garbage and refuse chapter in our codified ordinances. It integrates the updated terms, conditions, and service specifications in the township's most recent trash and recycling contract. It updates the definitions, clarify the collection schedules, ensures the local regulations are legally and operationally consistent with our hauling agreement. Many people will think, well, you know, why do we do things like this? Well, it's two reasons. Number one, recently we've undergone a fairly large change in the way that we do trash collection in the township, both in terms of service, the size of the receptacles, as well as some manner of collection. And two, it is only fair to allow people to have, aren't going to go see the contract, some place to be able to see what the rules are, the hours are, the restrictions are, the type of containers are, and the general rules of how trash is picked up. And as anyone knows, as they've lived through the change in trash contracts, trash is not something you think about until it's Thursday morning and you got to run out and get the bin out to make sure it gets picked up and not miss. Or after Thanksgiving or after Christmas when you could use about 5 bins. So it matters to people, and it should matter to people. And so setting those rules forth in one comprehensive place in a way that is consistent with the contract is only fair to residents. And that's what this ordinance endeavors to do. I will first ask Manager Eberly if she has anything additional to add to that.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. I believe you've covered everything. Thank you very much.
Okay. Secondly, I will ask anybody in the public who wants to make comment, because that is in fact the whole purpose of this particular section of the meeting, to come forward to the microphone and be heard if you want to be heard on Ordinance 2602. Anybody want to be heard on 2602? Anyone have thoughts on trash and refuse generally? Going once, going twice. Commissioners, for the record, do you want to be recorded on this ordinance? Is there anything that you have to add to the record? I should say, for people who are listening or watching or here, the issue of the trash contract and the rules thereunder have been widely discussed over the past year, subject of several meetings, subject of comment, a subject of continual refinement to make it better to the extent that we can. And with that, Mr. President, I recommend we close the hearing.
Thank you, Solicitor Miller. That being said, going to mix up the agenda here a little bit and entertain a motion to consider adoption of the ordinance just discussed.
Mr. President, I'll move for adoption of ordinance 2026-2.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, traffic studies. Do we have any, Chief?
No, sir.
Okay, anybody on the board wish to discuss traffic study related item? All right, hearing none. Ordinances, resolutions, and so forth. First up is fire engine order. Marshal Dries, would you care to fill us in here?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioners. Provided with your packet is a copy of the apparatus contract quote from Glick Fire Equipment in the amount of $1,149,490. The specifications in this contract represent a fire engine that will serve the citizens of Susquehanna Township for over 15 years. Contract number is 03 ECHO 22-242, and it represents CoStar's 13 requirements. The township placed the order on February 27th. The township would be invoiced $633,538 with a 30-day terms as of May 1st. The final payment due upon delivery with the expected delivery date of 2030, the year 2030. 2026 budget general funds transferred $500,000 to the fire fund. The 2026 outlaying grants are as follows. The gaming grant, Dauphin County gaming grant, is for $250,000 with an expected announcement of April of this year. We also have a $1 million LSA grant request in with the state with a fall announcement. The 2026 fire fund reserve total is estimated at $700,000. May 1st, the total need would be $633,538 minus the $500,000 that's already in the budget. If we get half of what we asked for in the gaming grant, we would still be well within that reach. The 2026 general fund budget less $133,538 would bring the 2026 fire fund reserve, and it will be replenished with a gaming grant, so that will be made whole again. Consideration of a motion to purchase a fire engine and note at a cost not to exceed $1,149,490 from Glick Fire Equipment is the ask of the commissioners.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Sanderson and Norford, with the stipulation being that the total amount due this year by May 1st is $633,538.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? And the balance is due in 2030 after I'm off the board?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean, yeah? You don't want me to stay?
We came in the same time, same day, maybe we should go the same day.
I hear you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Anybody comments or questions from members of the board?
Hi, I'm curious, in 2030, when this fire engine is delivered, what happens to the old fire engine?
This engine will replace 2 engines,
Okay,
and then hopefully long before 2030, we go for a second engine, and that will replace 1 engine for 1 engine. Right now, in 2030, when these 2 that are going to be replaced, they would be 22 and 21 years old. So we're doing everything we can to keep them in service. Right now, we have 1 engine that's out of service. That isn't part of the exchange here. So this engine, I fear one of the questions is going to be, where's the engine going to go? It's going to go where Susquehanna Township needs it the most. It's not promised to either fire station.
Nice.
It's wherever we need it the most, it's our station. And everybody's on board with that.
I used to work with rural fire companies, you and I've talked about this, and they are always happy to try to keep an older fire engine on the road because they really cannot afford $1 million, these small companies. So I would hope that they would be, handed down the line to someone who wants to purchase it.
Most
If,
responsible bid.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
We would bid the two out to try to get some money back.
okay, thank you, George.
Any other questions or comments, members of the board? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right. Next up is commercial impact fee. Mr. Knaus.
Thank you, Board. Back at the November 13th meeting, the Board authorized the township to seek proposals to assist us in amending and updating the comprehensive plan and the bicycle pedestrian plan to include a commercial impact fee for recreation. We did go out to the public for requests. We received one from HRG for $19,750. During that time, as we did a little bit more research, and we've basically learned at this point, our scope is probably off in terms of what we put out in the RFP. So with the lack of response that we had, plus the research that we've done here recently, both myself and with Mac Breach, we are recommending at this point that we reject the bid the proposal from HRG for $19,750, and hopefully we'll be back here with maybe the beginning of April with a new RFP to go out to the public.
Okay, so we need a motion to reject the,
So moved.
Second.
moved and seconded by Commissioner Norford. Comments or questions?
Doug, I guess the reason you're giving is that maybe it's the way you wrote the RFP, or there just wasn't any other interest from anyone else, or what?
It's both. We feel that the RFP had more than it needed in the overall scope. We need to kind of narrow down the scope a little bit more to kind of more focusing on the economist side of things, like, and the economy factors or economic factors of trails and parks and in correlation with the business, where I think we were kind of missing that in the scope previously. And some of the other aspects that we had included in the scope are things that can be done in-house with crafting the addendums and crafting the new ordinance and everything like that. That all can be done in-house. So really what we're going to focus probably this next RFP on is more the economic factors and getting that economic data to stand on that ordinance in the future, and looking at the impacts of recreation and trails and that connectivity to businesses moving forward. So.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Next up is authorization to advertise a public hearing on the massage ordinance that we've been discussing over the past couple of months. Mr. Breach, fill us in.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioners. Provided with the agenda is a copy of the proposed repeal and replace ordinance amendment to Chapter 13, Part 4, massage establishments of the code. As outlined at the board's January 22nd meeting, the purpose of this amendment is to revise and modernize the existing regulations for massage facilities and other similar facilities in the township. This was presented previously to the board on January 22nd for initial review and comment. Revisions were made to the amendment based off of comments provided by the board, other stakeholders, and some further research into the content of the amendment as outlined in the memo provided with the agenda. Tonight, staff is asking that the board schedule a public hearing on the ordinance amendment after the board's workshop meeting on Thursday, March 26th. So I'll kind of give a high-level view of the changes that were made to the ordinance. Generally speaking, the structure remains unchanged. I think at a staff level, we're very comfortable with the structure that was established or would be established under this. I think the most notable change is that after some review and discussion, acupuncture is licensed by the state similar to massage therapy. So previously that was included under the definition of alternative therapy, but acupuncturist and acupuncture is licensed just like massage therapy. So that was pulled out of alternative therapy and regulated similar to massage therapy, where they just provide, acupuncturists and acupuncture establishments provide copies of their Commonwealth-issued occupational licensure to the township instead of the alternate structure for the alternative therapy establishments and technicians. So again, that follows the same format that massage therapy would. Definition is pulled straight from the state code, like massage therapy. There were some other minor changes that were made based off of the board's comments. We added a requirement that points of contacts are required to be provided to the township to kind of streamline the process at the establishment level. We removed the prohibition on eating and drinking after discussions with our health officer and other stakeholders. We didn't find that to be relevant or necessary to regulate. We reworded the prohibition on a dwelling being used as any of these types of facilities to read that, it's possible as long as it's compliant with the applicable zoning regulations for home businesses. So again, just to reiterate, the structure remains the same. That change with acupuncture is the largest, so red line version of the ordinance that was provided with your agendas that shows the changes. If the board were to approve this tonight, staff would work similar to other recently approved ordinances to engage the public, make the amendment available for review. I think it'll be a little bit smaller scale than the amusement devices because there are only a handful of facilities. The amusement devices, you're looking at close to 100 facilities. But we will work on that if it were to be approved prior to the public hearing. Happy to take any questions, but that's my summary. Thank you.
Do you know how many establishments do we have in the township?
Yeah, we license, I believe it's 4 at this point. I think during this process, we've discovered 2 or 3 more that need to be investigated further. They were kind of put on hold until this gets passed so we can kind of put everything under this framework. But it's definitely less than 10.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
I'll second. Moved in second. Any comments or questions? Just for the record back, and I'm not getting down into the weeds, but before we have our hearing, there's a spelling discrepancy in acupuncture in the definitions. So if you can have a look at that. And
yes, sir. We'll get that taken care of.
Straighten that out, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other comments?
Well, I did see a couple comments at the end. I assumed I would save those when we actually have the public hearing at this point and just let this go as is. Is that the best way to
Yeah,
proceed?
why don't you store it up, review it, and just get ready
Yeah.
for.
I mean,
At the hearing.
I just have a couple minor comments, but
if they're minor, I would hold them. If they are major changes, you should probably say them now so that we can advertise the right ordinance, so there's not a massive change.
okay, I'd call them minor too.
Okay, well then, I think that you could probably talk to the administration. It would not be significant enough to change.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Take it back. It's coming, sooner or later. All right.
Yeah, Mac, I just want to thank you for making those adjustments based on our meeting. You did a nice job with those.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was good feedback. I think it's making it as strong as possible.
Why don't you stay here for a minute?
Yes, sir.
Next up is Resolution 26R01, which would authorize the President and Secretary to execute an easement agreement with the Susquehanna Township School District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Provided with the agenda is a copy of a fiber optic line easement agreement between the township and Susquehanna Township School District. This easement would permit the school district to install a fiber optic line at McNaughton Park between the new Deer Path Road educational facility and Thomas Holtzman Elementary School. The easement agreement contains provisions regarding the installation, maintenance, and relocation of the fiber optic line. So the action that we would be seeking tonight, this is a resolution, 2026 R01, and the action the staff is seeking would be authorizing the president and secretary of the board to execute the easement agreement. So the school district is here to answer any specifics, but just broadly speaking, this is a 10-foot wide easement, runs for about 400 feet along the southern portion of McNaughton Park.
10-inch wide, isn't it?
The cable?
Yeah.
The cable itself, yes, sir. But the easement area itself is 10 feet wide.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's about 4,000 square feet of easement area, give or take. We have looked at it, we're comfortable with the language regarding the installation, relocation provisions, and so forth. Director Knaus has reviewed the placement.
Excuse me. Stop him for a second. I just have a question about this real quick. Oh, go.
No.
Okay, go
Am I
ahead.
under arrest?
Sure.
It deals with fire trucks in this. Go ahead, I'm sorry. I didn't want him to leave.
No. So Director Knaus has reviewed it and doesn't have any concerns with the placement of it. As I stated, the members of the school district are here to answer any questions about the specific or the need for fiber, and I'm happy to take any questions as well.
Okay, I'm sorry to hold you up. I just have one question on it's an underground fiber optic, but are we concerned with, and this might be for HRG too and the engineering, are we concerned with that line being damaged by the weight of the fire trucks that run over that underground line? Will it be a need for
No, sir.
encasing?
It's back in the back. It's not where the apparatus run around.
Fire building, I think.
Yeah,
It's
but
behind the back. It would be in the normal travel of the school buses and everything else. So I'm sure, I would presume that area is gonna be protected, or at least it's far enough down that it would be.
and that's my question. Is it deep enough?
That's,
Will it handle the bus load? Do we need to encase it in concrete under that roadway?
Engineers or us.
Yeah, it'll be in a conduit and be,
We're not
right across the
liable
roadway.
if
It'll be
it,
plenty deep. It'll be 2.5 feet deep. And it'll be a separate conduit that houses the fiber optic.
okay. And we're not liable for any weight restrictions on that as far as school bus, fire trucks? You think it's deep enough and you think that it doesn't have to be encased in concrete, is what you're saying?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
If I could just extend onto his question, will the school district do this work yourself, or will it be contracted out?
So we are contracted with Lobar Associates, and they will be doing the work.
So there would be no reason for us to be involved in your contract with the contractor?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I was looking at the map, but I couldn't tell whether or not any macadam would be disturbed. I know that there will be some digging in the ground or in the grass, but
It would be bored underground, correct?
That's my understanding. It's my understanding that none of the roadway would be disturbed. in the
directional
trenching.
bore.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of it.
That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, George. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Wait.
Yes?
Who made the motion?
Some of these guys.
I made the motion. Just put it on me.
No.
Huh?
I know you didn't.
Actually, I don't know.
Stop
if we made-
fighting.
Did we make a motion?
I don't know if we made the.
I don't.
Is there a motion?
No.
Was there no motion?
Is there a motion now?
I'll make the
I'll make the
motion
motion.
now.
second.
Dapper?
Yeah.
Is there a?
Second.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
We gotta follow those Robert's rules and orders.
That's right.
Damn right.
That does not need to be in the
Hot
minutes.
mic.
I will strike that from the minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Rules of order, calling the fire chief.
All right, consent agenda. There's only one item, which is the rehiring of Brian Weiss, seasonal park maintenance staff member, effective March 16th, 26.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Then seconded, comments or questions? How long has he been with us, 2 years, 3?
This will be his third year.
Any other comments? Fred? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have some brain power in the room tonight. We have Lou Verdelli and Chris Gibbons of Concord Financial. You want to come up and give us an update? Sure.
So this is the best part of our job, when we get to come back and say mission accomplished. You might recall that the financing team started working on this refinancing about 6 months ago. And just as a quick recap on who the financing team is, Raymond James, we served as your underwriter. Chris Gibbons at Concord Financial served as the financial advisor. Eckert Siemens served as bond counsel, and Mr. Miller's participation as your solicitor. So that financing team began this process, talking really with the authority first, and saying you have a refinancing opportunity. And when we first started talking about it, the savings were about $650,000. And I think it was probably at the first meeting where the chair of the authority said, this is great, but we'd like to save $1 million. So that was a high bar. At the time, I think we had estimated that we would need interest rates to drop at least 0.25% to be able to get to $1 million. So all of that process was moving forward. Interest rates were declining as that was happening. And after you took your formal action we passed that parameters ordinance, we really had a nice drop in interest rates that gave us enough confidence that we should begin the credit rating process to actually have everything we need to go to the market and try to sell your bonds and try to lock in an interest rate that would produce that $1 million of savings. So the good news is on February the 18th, that's when we did enter the market to sell your bonds, and we had a successful bond sale that day. So what we'd like to do is recap that. I'm going to really just give you the recap of what went on in the couple days before that bond sale and what went on that day. And then Chris is going to review the final numbers that once we plugged in those interest rates to calculate what the final savings are, and that savings that the authority will recognize by making a much, much lower debt service payment here in 2026 than what they were scheduled to make. So my handout starts on page 2. And a quick summary, a couple of things, and I know Chris is going to hit this a little bit more, but the overall summary was that the bonds that we were selling, your bonds, had a credit rating of a S&P AA. Very good credit rating. The administration, business office, economic development team did a great job when we had that credit rating call with sharing lots of information about your strong financial performance, the tax base, the growth of your tax base here, the strength of our local economy. All those things are what gets baked into that credit rating. Remember, AAA is the highest, so you're just one level below that at AA. Because we had that good credit rating, we didn't have to purchase bond insurance. That was something that Chris and I had looked at and evaluated, and we're maybe going to get quotes on that. But with the AA coming in with a stable outlook, we said there's enough with this good credit rating, we don't need to purchase bond insurance. It's just an added cost. So that's what we were offering the bonds with. In the yellow, and again, Chris will show the breakdown. This is just the overall highlights. Where we ended up with those final interest rates is a net savings to the authority of $1,326,000. So that's after the fees of the transaction are taken out. That's actually how much lower their debt service payment will be here in 2026 compared to what it was scheduled to be. So that's the overall outcome. Right below that, the yield of the issue, if somebody says, well, you sold bonds, what's your new interest rate? Your new rate is locked in at 2.75%. Let's remember this issue only goes out 12 years, so that 275 is indicative of where a 12-year loan is in the municipal market. You know, if this was a 20-year financing, like if you were doing new money, that interest rate today would probably be a 375 to go out 20 years. So very, very low rates, and that's obviously what drives the savings. You turn to page 3. This is our interest rate chart tracking interest rates in specifically the municipal bond market. This is the index that we price your bonds off of, and this helps to explain why the savings went from $650,000 months ago to the $1.3 million just 2 weeks ago. Far right side, you can see it's just been a steady decline in interest rates over the last couple of months. Just goes straight down. We tried to illustrate that a little bit better for you, and Ryan Brockmans, who's behind me, put page 4 together so that we could send it over to Teresa when we had these great results to really help explain why the savings really got as high as they did. Left column, the left side of the page, the interest rates on October the 7th are shown for years 1 through 12. Then on 2/17, the interest rates are shown. And in the change column, you can see how much lower the 1-year rate was, 34 basis points lower over that time frame. We go out to the 12-year rate. That rate dropped 38 basis points from October the 7th. And we charted that on a line chart to really show you the shape of this yield curve. The blue line, you can see, and you might recall last year, a lot of people were talking about there was an inverted yield curve. That meant short-term interest rates were actually higher than some of the longer-term rates. You can see that little hook there. Over this period of time, you might remember there was inflation readings that were coming in lower than expected. Some of the economic data was coming in weaker than expected. The Fed cut interest rates, so they were lowering short-term rates. That's the short end of this yield curve. And you can see where we are today is the green line. So not only did the short end really drop, but really the whole curve shifted lower. So all of the interest rates were lower from years 1 through 12. And that's what mattered to you. You didn't care about what happened with interest rates that were 15 or 20 years. We were refinancing bonds that went out 12 years. This next page has a lot going on, but it's really the summation of a couple days of work to make sure that your bonds were getting distributed widely across the country and that everybody was going to have their opportunity to put in an order for Susquehanna Township bonds. What this page is showing is there's a year there, a bar chart, for each year of the bonds that you were selling. So you were selling bonds that matured this year, the one in 2026. And as you go out across there, the final year that we were selling bonds was in 2038. And the way investors decide to purchase bonds is some people want to buy the 5-year bond, some want to buy the 10-year, some wanted to buy the 12-year bond. And you can actually see there by the bar chart, this is how many orders we received for each one of those maturities. And you can see there was greater demand for the bonds that mature in 2036, 2037, 2038. People were interested in locking in interest rates for those longer periods of time. The big takeaway here is that all of these, what those bar charts are representing is the amount of oversubscription. The amount, more orders than we had for the amount of bonds you were selling. Remember, we were selling that day $21 million of bonds. The box that has a black line around it right in the middle of the page shows at the end of our order period, that morning of the 18th, we had orders that totaled $142 million of orders for your bonds, but we were only selling $21 million of bonds. So that's a great outcome. We were more than 6 times oversubscribed And what that means is, okay, we now have leverage to lower those interest rates because there's so many buyers for the issue. You know, you may look at this and say, okay, why were there so many buyers? I think, A, we just talked about the good credit rating. The bonds were rated AA. Township has a good name. You're not in the market very frequently, right? It's been many years since Susquehanna Township issued debt, so it's a new name for investors to see. The coupon structure, our firm's selling multiple issues every single day, so we know what investors are looking for. So we worked with Chris to develop what we thought would be the interest rates and the structure that investors would most want, so that we would have this outcome of getting a lot of orders. So once we had that is when we called Chris after the order period and said we can make the following adjustments to each one of the interest rates. And so this bar chart on page 6 basically shows those green dots are how much we lowered each one of the interest rates from where we started that morning. It's a little bit easier to turn to page 7 to see year by year what that difference was from the column on the very far right is where we ended up. The yellow highlighted column is how much we reduced each one of those interest rates after that good order period. And then the column right beside that to the left is where we started that morning. That's what we were showing investors, was the column labeled initial yields. When we ran that in the morning, it was producing about $1.2 million of savings. Once we made those final changes in the yield adjustment column, the final savings increased by about $104,000 as a result of making all of those changes. So the savings went from 1.2 million to 1.3, which is where we ended up. And that's, when you look at that final yield column, we take a weighted average of that to calculate that 275 that I showed you as your fixed rate that we report to the IRS as the actual borrowing rate on the new issue. So that is where we ended up. And lastly, we thought you would be interested to see, so who are all these firms putting in orders for your bonds? On the final page 8, we had 27 different accounts that placed orders that morning. And we have them listed here by the total amount of orders that they put in. So they're on the left side at the top. You can see PIMCO Advisors, huge money manager out on the West Coast. You can see they put in orders for 19.5 million, almost your whole issue they had in order in for each maturity. And you look at even those first 5, Eaton Vance, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, BlackRock, the biggest firms in the municipal bond market were all trying to buy your bonds. And as you go down the list, there's probably some names you might not have heard of, but they're big banks, they're money managers, property and casualty insurance companies that like to buy municipal bonds for their portfolio. So I think the message is your Susquehanna Township bonds were very broadly distributed among some of the biggest players in the municipal bond market when we were finished. So I'll stop there, see if there's any questions just about the pricing process before I turn it over to Chris to show you how it all bakes out in the numbers.
Can you do it again?
Not till 2035.
Well, thank you. Good evening. Nice to see you all again. Lou and Raymond James, I think, number one, Lou just did a great job explaining everything here. Very thorough job. Great job. I also think that Raymond James outperformed themselves with your bond issue. We asked them for a proposal about a month ago, and that proposal essentially allowed for interest rates to be at a certain level given what was going on in the market. And every time the market changed, they would go to those new lower interest rates. Ultimately, they gave us this proposal of these interest rates, and they would go to that certain level. They actually went through. They went lower than what the rates they said that they would do. So my hats off to them, to Raymond James, for doing a great job for the township. Quite frankly, there were other bonds priced that week, and your bonds got lower rates than other bonds at similar credit ratings, et cetera. So I think that what you're seeing this evening is the result of a lot of hard work from Raymond James. I put two different handouts in front of you. I'll go backwards to forwards, if you will. I thought it was important to put in front of you the rating review from Standard & Poor's. I would also congratulate Teresa and her staff in putting in a lot of work in putting the bond rating presentation together, and it paid off. It clearly was a well-oiled machine when you got to that day, and all the work and effort paid off. So the reason I gave this to you is it's kind of a roadmap of the economic, demographic, and financial conditions of what Standard & Poor's thinks about the township. And it's some good reading in terms of what the markets perceive on how you got to this AA credit rating. So I just commend that for reading at some point. The other handout is just my summary. It's just a one-pager. It's really what Lou was already talking about. On my only page of my handout, I was trying to highlight two different points. First of all, as Lou had mentioned, the annual debt service savings are going to be taken in fiscal year 2026 ultimately by the authority of $1,339,000. And column 23 is kind of where we said, okay, it's got to be greater than $1 million. It's $1,326,000. So it's somewhat of a timing thing that you always want to be in the market when the market's hot. But I, again, also commend Raymond James to knowing that and also pushing that we can get better prices because the scarcity of bonds in the market that particular day. That's when Lou was showing you how many different investment firms were interested in buying bonds because there weren't that many other bonds to buy. And they were willing to kind of push it as hard as they could to get you lower interest rates, which ultimately did occur. That's my presentation.
So it's a combination of luck and genius, right?
I was going to say better lucky than smart idea, but you...
Yeah, that's the way it is with golf.
Excuse me, Chris. Teresa, just one comment here. What you were talking about in your presentation here about our outlook being stable. I'm only bringing this up because I think we're going to be starting our budget process early this year. And I thought these comments on page 2 are particularly insightful in the sense that they are, I didn't write any of this, they are almost verbatim talking points about our own budget process. Our available reserves are almost 40%. And we adhere to the Government Finance Officers Association recommendation of a minimum of 20%, and we make every effort not to get close to that. That was specifically a point here about how the township addresses its budget. A line-by-line approach for our budgetary process. Teresa came in hot last year, and staff came in extra hot and fixed a lot of problems we didn't know we had in terms of accounting and accuracy and clarity and understanding of what we had in front of us. And that budgetary process took a lot of effort and insight, and it's now reflected in our budget and our credit rating. We do have elevated debt and liabilities, but we are addressing those in the studies that we are performing, and that we are considering what is going to be necessary in the next 5 years. Remember, we address our budget not on a year-by-year basis, but on a rolling 5-year consideration and a previous 5-year analysis. So that's important, I think, to let people know how we're trying. We're not budgeting for our credit rating, we're budgeting for accountability, but it's reflected in our credit rating. And that when we do have large expenses, we know about them, we're anticipating them, and we're working toward mitigating them, making them more manageable and trying to maintain a consistency of process and perception. Not everybody works on every project at every time. This board, for many years, has subdivided itself into committees, and we've had a lot of continuity, thank goodness, for that. And when it comes time to address large budget issues, large financial issues, the board comes together as a whole and discusses these details. So I just wanted to bring these 5 items out as a point of discussion and say, we're not doing this accidentally, we're doing it intentionally, deliberately, and I'm just very grateful for the work that you have done to save the township, on average, over the next 12 years, $110,000, which is real hard money. That's like refinancing your house. You've just lowered your payment, and that's money that can go into other things. So that's what I had to say. Thank you. And bourbon.
You know, Lou, on your page, your handout, the last page has a list of accounts.
Yes, sir.
Are these people who bought into the bond issue, right?
They put in orders to purchase. So we
Okay.
had to allocate, obviously, they didn't get as much as they wanted because we had
Okay.
to allocate it evenly across.
Because the
their-
total comes up to 142 million.
Right, that was the total amount of orders they placed.
That's a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, just to give you an idea, we're happy if an issue is 3 to 4 times oversubscribed. We know that we did our job of making the market aware that this was coming, and so to get 5, 6, this was almost 7 times oversubscribed.
Yeah.
And when you look at the list of participants, sometimes we have a list that's half this size. 14 or 15 firms participate in an issue of this size, so. And I think some of that is you're an infrequent issuer, you know, your name's not out
They
there.
want to check us out, yeah.
And, you know,
So are these all, are all the people that bought into this issue, is it all senior debt, or is there some sub-debt involved there?
well, the way they're purchasing it, if you look on the right side of the page, we list like the type of what they
Right.
do with the bonds. So some of these firms are like a Vanguard that just put them into their mutual funds, if you invest in municipal bond mutual funds. Some, the SMA stands for separately managed account. Those are firms that are managing money for individuals that like tax exempt bonds, and they're buying them and then probably putting them in maybe 10 different individuals' portfolios. There's insurance companies. So it really is a broad spectrum of investors that purchase the bonds.
Okay, but I mean in terms of access or claim upon, you know, should something go haywire, claim upon, you know, the township or our issuance.
Well, they're counting on you've placed your full taxing power, as these are general obligation bonds. So that's also what's bringing them, is they know that so they're first at the table.
But those hold the senior debt have first access, right, versus the sub-debt?
Well, the township doesn't really have.
There is no
It's not that
sub-debt.
much.
It's all the same
Sub-debt.
debt.
Okay.
General obligation debt.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
And so I think, last shout out really to Teresa, I think the last 6 months, we bugged her a lot for a lot of information. We pushed because we wanted to be ready early. Usually early in the year is when we see a lot of money flowing into the market. The market shuts down for the holidays, so we were pushing to be ready in January, February timeframe. So she did a great job, and again, the team of getting us in front of you, getting us in front of the authority. We'll go give this good news to the authority next week.
See you then?
Yep.
All right, any other questions of Lucas? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I just wanted to thank, I mean, we did work, you, Ryan, Chris, Lou, did a fabulous job of corralling all of us. You know, when we first talked about it, we thought it was a crazy high bar, and you made it happen, and that was for your efforts as well. So appreciate all you did, and they were great partners through the process. They made it, I wouldn't say delightful, but you made it like easy. It was some parts, the S&P part was really fun. I mean, I've never gone through that before, but you really helped lead us through that process, and I think we were successful in what we did. Also had other partners, Susquehanna Accounting helped us put together some of the information, and would be remiss if I didn't thank our finance team. Tracy Mack was our economic development person, and Leanne helping us pull it all together. So I think, oh, and of course, Everett Seaman, sorry, almost. Thank you.
He's blushing. Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the tax collection issue.
Nope.
We're going to pull that off the table. Is that right, Madam Manager?
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, you're pulling it off the table.
Yes, sir.
Do we need a vote on tabling that or not?
It would be better to vote on it, yes.
Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Moving second to comments, questions, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Well done.
Opposed, motion carries. Commissioner comments? Anybody have any? Thank you, Carl. Anybody else? All in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Good night, everybody.